So we've got a long list of reforms here. It means, you know, there's a daily limit set. You can't change that daily limit for at least a week. You've also got things like a special transition committee putting in place, which I think is pretty important. You've got financial support for the regions because you don't want regional clubs and pubs to die. Look, I know you've been talking about, in fact, I've been talking to you about this for years, if not decades. Does this go far enough? I imagine that, you know, in a perfect world, you probably just want pokies abolished altogether. But is this, as the headline suggests, the most significant reform in decades?
Look, it absolutely is. For 25 years, I've been waiting for this day. This is historic. Look, you're right, it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn good. And both sides of politics know this. Back in 2012, a Labor Prime Minister, the first female Prime Minister, tried to bring in this reform and got smashed here by New South Wales clubs and the AHA and humiliated. So Labor knew you needed to bring it in. Then 2 years ago, Victor Dominello, a Liberal gaming minister, refloated it, the cashless card. He lost his gaming portfolio because Clubs New South Wales demanded his scalp. What has changed is the public have said, particularly with the New South Wales Crime Commission, particularly with the shock that just in the last quarter, 3 months, some $2.2 billion was lost in New South Wales. That's in under 100 days, 92 days. 2.2 billion, and it's going to be over 8 billion for a year. And we know that's suicides, that's mortgages and rent not being paid, kids going hungry, it's domestic violence. The social cost is ridiculous. Why? Because New South Wales has 35% of all the world's pokies and pubs and clubs. It is the belly of the beast. It is so accessible. The cashless card does address that. It's historic.
So what do you say to Chris Minns and Labor this morning? Does this need to be bipartisan?
Absolutely. I say to Chris Minns, whose policy has really been written in the back room of Clubs New South Wales, where he was just promising maybe another trial of 500 machines, which is exactly the promises used to defeat the Gillard reforms. Chris, it was your side, your Prime Minister that stepped up first. Why are you still terrified of the AHA and Clubs New South Wales? Make this bipartisan. Yeah, do it at least for Julia Gillard, Chris. You know what's right.
Tell me about the history there. Let's go back because, as you say, there's been promised trials. I think you're suggesting that Labor is beholden to the gambling lobby. Why?
Oh, because it's a 95 billion turnover lobby with nearly 8 billion profit a year, and every club and pub donates double the donations to Labor than to the Liberals, and they have the local members running their events at the clubs, and they're given patronage. Really, the pokies sector, 95 billion, has been like a shadow government, pulling the strings. Both sides of politics would sign MOUs before a state election, promising not to change anything to increase the tax. What vested interest gets that? Labor are particularly captured because of the Randwick Labor Club with 3 sites and millions of dollars going through, and other Labor clubs. They have been particularly captured. But it just says when a Labor Prime Minister Gillard absolutely saw this early and said we have to deal with this social misery and got defeated. Labor know this is right. Chris Minns needs to be set free. And if he makes it bipartisan, he then gets on campaigning on a lot of great policies he has on social housing, whatever else. But at the moment, it's Chris Minns, Mark Latham and John Barilaro all opposing this against Crime Commission, Police Commissioner, health professionals, against Teals, Greens, Independents, Liberals, Nationals. Really, Chris, do you want to be in Mark Latham and Barilaro's camp against all of those people? Just make this bipartisan.
I love talking to you, Tim Costello, because you never speak in code. So your message this morning is get on with it, back it in.
This is historic. People will be allowed to gamble. No one's they're being given a tool for freedom and their responsibility. In opposing us, the only people opposed to gambling responsibly are the pokies sector, and that's what Chris Minns, who's got most of the pokies, every pub and club in Kogarah, in Chris Minns' electorate, has pokies, and there's 2.5 million lost a week. In fact, 20% of clubs in New South Wales don't have any pokies. Same proportion of clubs. It's not a level playing field. We're just making pub barons rich. Look after the poor in Labor electorates, I say to Chris Minns.
Tim Costello, thanks so much for your time. That official announcement at 11 o'clock this morning. We'll see you soon, Tim.